Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Can you believe it's another Thursday? And here we are running with scissors. Oh my gosh, I have so much stuff down on my desktop. So many things I want to share with you guys today and an amazing project that we are going to get to. And hopefully we get through it all. It shouldn't take too long. It just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of drying time that we have to deal with. So we're going to talk about a few things and then we're going to move on with our project, right? So always a few little announcements. I'm so glad to see so many of you out in the chat. I just dropped my remote control, so might need to grab that later. So glad to see so many of you out in the chat. If you are new here, of course, do leave a little note and say hello. Tell us where you're from. We always talk about the weather, so that's why people are posting about the weather. So I can't believe it is warm and muggy in England. I don't know what that means to you, Paula, but to me that means something pretty gross. Anyway, I'm so glad that you guys are with me today. And we're going to continue on our journey with gel press and stencils today using layering stencils. So we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute here. Let's go through our quick announcements. The Card Maker Success Summit is coming up at the end of July. If you want to get on the waiting list for that free event, go to NicoleWattCreates.com/card summit and get onto the waiting list. Yeah, and we all had a fun time last weekend at the demo day. Saw a lot of really cool things and lots of fun products, lots of great stories from all of the companies that shared some of their products last weekend with us at the Card Maker Success Summit demo day. That was the first time for that. And if you liked it, let Brandy know so she knows if she should do one again. All right, let's see. For us, though, here at Running with Scissors, I've got some updates on our topics for each month. So, of course, this month we're doing gel press and stencils. Next month, we're doing wax mediums. I'm going to show you some waxes that I'm going to be using. I also have them linked in today's supply list in case you're interested in them. And then you can get them in advance. And then in August, we are going to be doing acrylic paint in card making. So that will be fun. I'm going to show you a little something that I've worked up that I'm going to start working on for some projects. Anyway, if you're interested in a great freebie and you want to get on my mailing list, this is like a great 2 for you. Get on my mailing list so you get all these great updates and all sorts of information. And then you also will get a great freebie. It'll get you started on a technique library binder, just like this one. So look at, I have all of my technique sheets inside of here. It will get you started with that. Go to NicoleWattCreates.com/technique freebie to grab your freebie. It'll get you on the list, which will keep you up to date with the card summit and other things we're doing here, our upcoming challenge in September, when Bloom will open again, all those great things. You want to get on the list for that. Let's see what else. Crafty sales. There are, we're past Memorial Day here, but there are more crafty sales going on. So be sure to check out my page there for the latest and greatest sales at all of your favorite crafty stores. And of course, if you are inspired by anything that I create on this channel, whether it's a technique or a project or something else that I share, please do tag me at NicoleWattCreates on Instagram, and I will leave you a lovely comment and check out your fabulous work. I always love to see how you're inspired by what I'm doing here. I always appreciate you supporting me, so know that when you click on the link to go to today's shopping list, those are affiliate links. I will get a small commission if you purchase something, always at no additional cost to you. It's an easy way to support me and other crafters out here doing this kind of stuff for you. And if you would like to support me directly, you can always use the link to the tip jar that'll take you right to PayPal. You can send me a couple of bucks. And thank you to Trisha and Nancy. That was a lot of coffee, ladies. That'll keep me going for a little while, but thank you so much for supporting this channel. I truly appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. And of course, you can always support me by subscribing to my channel and clicking on that little bell to get notifications when we're live here and when I'm putting out new technique videos and that kind of stuff. So thank you to all of my new subscribers in the last week. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so hey, let's talk about some cool stuff. And while I'm doing this, don't forget to click on the thumbs up. That will let YouTube know that you like today's content, and it will serve you up more of it when you go to your YouTube homepage. And of course, subscribe while you're there. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of things. Well, we don't want to talk about that yet. Okay, so a couple of things. August, we're doing acrylic paint. So I posted something in a Instagram story a couple days ago, and people were like, I was like, what do you think it is? And I got some interesting answers, and none of them were right. But this is what it was. And let me just switch to my other view here. Here we go. It is a master sheet that I'm going to cut up and use for some projects. This is all acrylic paint. Look at that. Isn't it gorgeous? It's got texture and color and so much fun. So we're going to do something similar to this for at least 1 or 2 of our videos in August. So if you're using acrylic paint with your gel press like I am, this is going to be another way to use your acrylic paint. So more to come on this. I don't know what it will become, but it will become something very cool. It's already pretty cool as it is. All right, so that's that. Oh, my itchy nose. So there's a lot of allergies. Grass allergies are finally coming to be out here. Okay, so let me grab my remote control before I forget about it. Oh. I mean, it really ended up in an inconvenient place. Put it over here for safety. Okay, because I wanted to zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better what I'm talking about. So this is for next month. We're going to be doing wax mediums. So we're going to do 2 distinctly different wax mediums. We're going to use the new Foundry waxes from Tim Holtz and his Distress line. Right, it only comes in these 4 colors. It will only ever come in these 4 colors. And we're going to use these for some really cute projects. They are going to be holiday themed projects, but you'll be able to figure out all sorts of great ways to use your Foundry wax. So if you got these because you're like, oh, those look so cool, and now you don't know what to do with them, we're going to use these for part of the month. And then for part of the month, we're going to use these waxes. These are from Finnabair. And they're their Art Alchemy line. They're metallic waxes. Sometimes some of the older versions of these come in little jars instead of in tubes. They are the same, as long as it says metallic wax. All right, and so we're going to be using these. These are totally different than the Foundry waxes, and we'll talk about that next month. Here's the thing. I love the way these smell. They add, I'm sure they're beeswax. Yes, they're beeswax based, but I think they add in some other fragrance because it doesn't smell like beeswax, but it smells so good. I really, 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 really love them. And it's not like a chemical smell. It's a really pretty smell. So it will give your cards a nice little scent too, because it sticks around. It really does. So here's an example of something that you're going to see next month that we're going to do with that metallic wax. So this one, I use the graphite and the peacock. So those 2 guys on this, check that out. Oh, and this is just like the littlest sneak peek. Oh my gosh, guys, you're gonna love Wax Month. So we're gonna do these Finnabairs, and we're gonna do the Foundry waxes. So if you've got them, great. If not, they are listed down below. I just went to the general pages for both, so you can pick and choose what you like. Of course, you know, color is always subject to change, so you can come up with different colors that you like, and you don't have to do what I'm doing. So let me move these out of the way. Okay, so today, okay, so Kathy says she thinks her gel plate smells good. I'm not going to smell my gel plate. And poof, there it is. Okay, so this got rave reviews over on Instagram. I did a little reel, so go to my Instagram page at Nicole Creates and check out the fun little reel that I did that created this. This is so awesome. This is a very simple version of what we're going to be doing today, the layering with stencils. Now, if you love this sheet and you're like looking at my technique binder with major, I mean, this is technique binder number 2. I have one that is completely full already. So this is on to binder number 2. If you're looking at this and you're thinking, boy, I really want one of those, guess what? Join my technique library membership. There is a link down below in the description that talks about it. Check it out. Get the freebie. And then, you know, check out the membership because it's awesome. We get a new technique every week, and there are already over 50 techniques in the library. So you will not be wanting for learning new techniques in crafting. They are kind of universal. They work with, of course, paper crafting, card making. They work with mixed media, all sorts of really great craft techniques with all sorts of different products. All right. So that, from that came about this project. And it is gorgeous. This is one single pull. This is not multi-layer. This is one pull. So this is a multi-layer concept. So I've got a technique out there that talks about doing multi-layer pulls on your gel press. This is the kind of one where we're going to build it all on the gel plate, and then we're going to pull it all off at once. All right, so I've got a couple of other little things here that we're going to get to, maybe not get to it all, but some wonky stitched layers here. We've got a little teeny tiny stamp set from my favorite thing. That's where I got that little teeny tiny stamp from, because I didn't want to take away from this design at all. So, and I didn't, right? So there's just this little teeny tiny sentiment on this gorgeous vintage looking design, right? And it's, look, it's just one layer, just one pull. We're gonna have fun with this. Okay, so let me zoom a little differently here. I'll pull this out just a little bit so you can get the full effect of what's going on. So I still have some paint left on here from when I did that technique video, and that doesn't matter. It can just hang out there, right? Okay, so I got some newsprint pages that I'm going to use for brayering off. I've got like a little piece of scrap here. I'm just going to set that aside. I'm going to use a newsprint today, I think. Because honestly, like the newsprint looks really, really cool when we do the brayering off. So let me give you some ideas of layering stencils. So the one that I used in the technique video, that actually you haven't seen the technique video unless you're a member of the library or of the Bloom crafting community. That just came out exclusively for them. But I used this layering orbs set from a Colorful Life Designs. And let me layer the orbs properly so you can see. I mean, it looks just like the, there, see, they're layering orbs. So you've got like your 3 different sizes and they layer together. So you can do something as simple as that, right? And as you saw, that looks gorgeous. You could do something like this playful patterns. So it gives you like different patterns that you can use, and some of them are overlapping and some of them aren't, but that would work well. This little polka dot buds works well because you're going to have like a little background circles, and then you're going to have the flower layer on top of it. That will work out. But today we're going to use this one. This is the Meadow Bush layering stencil set from Altenew. And it does actually come with a die set, so you could do something a little more complex with it if you wanted to, but this is kind of complex enough. So we're going to use all 4 layers here. All right. And you'll notice that I have an R on the corner here. That tells me that it's this is right side up, and that they're all marked in the corner here so that I know that they go together like so. All right, we are going to have to do, sometimes I have to do a little bit of referring because the way that things line up together, you kind of have to like finagle them and know exactly how it's going to fit together, because you can't just fit them like square on top of square, or at least mine, I can't, because it's, this was like a demo version because I got this as a designer. So sometimes things have to shift a little bit in order to fit, and I have to kind of refer to what's going on each of the layers. So let me get those all lined up properly. All right, so I'm good to go with my layers, and I've got my gel press here, and I've got lots of Liquitex colors. So we're going to do a whole pile of different colors. Those are also all listed in the supply list. And I've got copper here. I had to break into a bigger tube with the copper. And then I also have these mixed media gloss sprays from Dinah Wakely. These work really great. Ooh, so Ms. Tamp says the stencil without the die is currently on deal at Altenew. So yeah, you can get that for a discount. Woo-hoo. Right, so I'm just shaking these up. So these gloss sprays from Dino Weekly are acrylic sprays. So they're just like this, except they're super, super thin and sprayable. So you have to shake them up so that way you can get all of the paint mixed around. So drop them. And I always shake them up with the lid on so that way I don't have to worry about it spraying all over accidentally. And then also last week I talked about, instead of using your heat tool to dry your layers, because we have to do lots of layer drying, that you can get a little handheld fan. And this is the fan that I ended up picking. See, it's already got paint on it. And I like it because it's nice and compact. It has 3 levels and it's not very loud. So that's as loud as it gets. Can you hear that? Probably not. It's probably blocking that out. So it's not very loud, but it does push plenty of air, and that's going to help me dry my layers as I go. All right, so and it's got like a little, it comes out of the base. See, it comes out of the base. But I kind of just leave it in the base so that way I can just set it to the side when I'm not using it. All right, are we ready for this one? Let's get going. Okay, so I actually wrote down my recipe here because I didn't want to get any of the steps wrong. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we are going to put some copper down just to give us a little base. Doesn't need to be a whole lot because we're actually going to pull it up. I just want to get a little bit of copper on here to give us a little bit of grunge to start with. All right, so super, super thin layer. All right, and of course, like I said, I'm brayering it off. And I'm going to take a piece of paper here and I'm just going to put it on here and then pull it off. So I've got like little spots where I can see that the copper is still on here. And that's exactly what I want. So this I'll use for something else. Maybe I'll brayer off on it later. But this is just going to get set aside. And we don't need to worry about paper except for brayering off anymore. Okay. So here we go. First layer, very simple. We can let this dry a little bit, but it's going to dry pretty quick because there's really not a whole lot to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the leaf layer. And as I'm looking at it, it's got like a couple little holes and things in it. Those are actually little parts to the flower. It's no big deal though. Let me get this all lined up real quick here. I don't want to because this one actually, stand by just a moment. This one can be a little bit tricky to align. And my eyeball just has to find, there we go, it just has to find the places. So you see how it's not really aligned square. So that's what I wanted to know. I wanted to make sure that I was going to fit everything on here. Like so. So let me just flip that around. See, I got it one way, but now I can't. There we go. All right. So I want to make sure that I can fit it all on the sheet. So that should be good. So you see how it's kind of angled funny? That's okay, because we're just concerned about the stencil itself. And now when I get to the final layer, I know that all of my flowers are going to fit on to my gel plate. All right, so this one is a little tricky. Super advanced. If you're like, whoa, this is already too much for me, no problem. Go and do a simpler one. Get used to doing this whole kind of thing. All right, so for this first layer, we're going to do primary yellow mixed with a little bit of copper. All right. And I just want to get that brayered into all the spaces. It's okay if it goes off the edge. That's just going to give it some interest as we go. If you don't have enough on there, we can add a little bit more, right? So in this instance, a lot is going to land on the stencil. If you want to do something where like you're spraying the stencil and then adding it to another sheet just to get like the runoff, you can do that too. We're going to focus on this today because I want to keep you focused on this specific process. All right. There we go. So now I'm going to take this off and see, you know what I think I need. So the copper is, even though it says that it is opaque, not transparent, I really feel like it's super transparent. I'm going to add some more yellow into that. It's kind of nice to get like a cool little mix as well. There we go. That's better. All right, so now I have my leaves on here, and that looks like nothing burger, right? That's okay. This is going to go into my sink, so it's out of the way. Now we need to dry. So I'm going to draw this a little bit. Just turn up my... So hopefully, can you guys hear me okay while this is going? Hopefully it's not giving too much white noise, that it's blocking out my voice. I need to change my chat. It always defaults to top chat instead of last chat. Live chat. There we go. Here's me fine. Thank you so much, Sue. I appreciate you letting me know. All right, so if you have any questions along the way, you know, we have to do a little bit of drying in between, so there's plenty of time for questions today. Now, you might get a little bit of overage, you know, it might come up in between the stencil. That's why I try to get it smushed down pretty good onto the gel press. But if that happens, that's okay. I mean, this isn't supposed to be like a perfect looking thing. We want this to look vintage and kind of grunged up a little bit. You see how I've got like the little lines here? That's from the stencil. And that's going to give it some interest when we pull it. All right, so you see I'm doing thin layers. So those are drying. It's drying pretty quick. There we go. All right, layer one is done. Okay, so now you want to go from most restrictive to least restrictive. So when you're looking at your stencils, you can see that like this one has the smallest holes for the flowers. This one has kind of medium-sized holes, and of course this is the background pieces. So this one we definitely want to do last. And then between these two, this one has like the smallest hole. It's going to go like right in this space here. So I'm going to do this one next. All right, so I need to line this up. Fortunately, these all line up together for the most part. There we go. So now I know I've got a few little markers on here that I can follow. And this is what takes just a minute to get this very first one in place, is to kind of decide where that goes. Yeah, let me grab the other one. So patience here, guys. Just be patient. I know that this goes kind of around that area. And I know that this one comes... So this is why it's good to maybe keep this one around. So I know, aha, this is the one I was looking for. Eventually it all fits together. There. So you see how that fits? There's this hole here and this little bit here. So now I know this guy. This is the hardest one, I promise. Once you get this first one in place, there we go. Look at that. You see how these guys are all fitting in those spaces? Let me zoom this up a little bit. See if you can even see it. All right, so you see how that's like fitting in there? because that's, right, that's this piece here. That's how that went. So it fits right in there and there and there. This is the hardest piece to get down, but once you get this piece down, it is, you're right into a good place. Yeah, absolutely. I just hadn't had the chance to do that. There's a couple of ways you can do this. Stampin' Teacher, thank you for teaching us that. She says, line them up and punch a hole so that way you know where to line them up every time. The other way you can do that is you can always mark lines on your pieces so that way they are lined up as well. This one I think is just kind of odd that it doesn't line up perfectly when you put all four together like so. And again, I think that might be a failing of the one that we got as a designer. A lot of times they fix things before they go out for general public because the rest of these all line up perfectly. So I don't have to worry about any kind of odd lineup anymore because look, the rest of these line up just fine. So it's just that one layer between the leaves and the bottom layer of the flowers that doesn't quite line up right. All right, so we've got it in place though, and this is all nice and dry. Our next layer here is to do unbleached titanium. So we're going to add just a nice white-ish kind of buff layer here. And then we're going to spray some of that awesome gloss spray. I knew that was going to happen. Okay, let's get this on here. This is an easy layer. There's not very many holes on this guy. Press a little harder if you want to make sure that it gets down to all the different edges. All right, and then you may need to even put just a little bit more on here to make sure that it really seeps into all those edges well. All right, we want to get a good cover on this. The unbleached titanium is also a opaque color, so it should cover pretty well. There we go. This guy is done. So now I'm really done with these two. And before we go any further on that, I'm going to take some of this turquoise gloss spray and just do a couple little spritzes to start giving this some visual interest. So with these sprays, you can just kind of not depress it the whole way, and you're going to get like little teeny tiny sprays. There we go. All right, so it takes a little bit longer for the acrylic spray to dry because it's really watery, right? There we go. So we let it dry. And I already know I'm going to have some really cool crunchy bits off of the side here. The crusty corners are always so awesome when you pull those off. Now, if you don't want to wait for all of this acrylic gloss spray to dry, you can lift it after we get the regular acrylic paint dry. You definitely want to get as much of this to dry as possible. And remember, it's not going to look this bright because we do have a little bit of grunge going on with the bottom layer. We put that copper down first. So this I got from Amazon. I mean, really, there's a ton of them on there. I liked this one because it has, everything is enclosed. It's not like a fan in a cage or whatever. It's a nice little enclosed fan. Kind of helps keep the air focused. Kind of like a heat tool would. All right, so at this point, the regular acrylic paint is dry. It's such a thin layer and there's so little of it that it works out. Yeah, and Sue says, could you spread out the spray puddles so they dry? Yeah, absolutely. You could. If you want to do just something with your fingers, you can. You could even, at this point, you could even come in and dab some of it up with a paper towel. Like a lot of these little ones are already dry. So we're good. The nice thing too, this isn't hot. So I can lay it over a specific area for a longer period of time and just let it focus on drying a specific section. So if it's puddles that you're trying to get to dry a little bit more, of course you can dry them super fast. Right now at this point, I'm just, even if these puddles aren't completely dry, that's okay. We're going to move on to our next step. We're going to put our stencil over it, and they might smush a little bit. They might get picked up a little bit. That's okay. All right, so let's put our next layer on. And like I said, these start to get easier. I do kind of have to stand over it though, so that way I get a really good view. There we go. And honestly, like with layering stencils, if they're not perfect, it's okay. All right, so our next layer is going to be some let me double check on that because it doesn't seem right, but I think it is. Yeah, it is. And we're going to use this dioxazine purple. So we get a purpley layer in here. All right. Next layer. See, look, oh, we're going to get some really cool little pieces on the side. And look, it did pick up some of that spray, but that's fine. It left other stuff down. All right, and so while we're here, let's do some of the eggplant spray as well. All right, so yeah, this is a really nice deep purple. It's got a fair amount of blue in it, so it's a really nice purple. Actually, I guess it has more red in it. It's got like a nice wine kind of look. And so we're going to pair this with another spray. I'm trying not to spray too hard because I want to get some of those little splashes. But you can always, you know, kind of pick them up and move them around, just like Sue said. And I give that a little bit more texture. And we're drying again. Yes, you could totally use a hair dryer with a cool option. And to Kathy's point, it wouldn't really work great for me while I'm live because it's just loud. But yeah, a cool cycle on a hair dryer would work excellent. So this is also nice for travel. So if you're going someplace and, you know, for a crop or a little crafting event and you want something to be able to dry your layers in between, and this is kind of nice to take along with you. So yeah, so no need to buy something extra if you already have something at home that works fine, right? So the purple layer is already dry. We're just waiting for our spray. So I can focus. I'm so used to having to move it around because I've been using my heat tool that now I keep forgetting that I can just kind of hold it in one place and just let it dry. So the gel spray is, or the gloss spray is going to dry a little glossy because it is a gloss spray. So of course to test it out with your finger always is a good thing because it might be dry and you wouldn't even know it. All right. So I've seen some of you guys have been working with your gel press. Have you had any success with what we did last week, or any other recent revelations about using your gel press? It was so nice we had gel press on last week with us. They popped in. So if you're wondering about how to clean your gel press, I do have a video on that. It's actually quite easy. You can use just soap and water, or you can use hand sanitizer. It will get rid of any kind of material you have on your press. All right, that's pretty good. There we go. All right, last layer, guys. Where was I on this? Here we are. All right, so this guy goes right here. So you know you've done a good job when just about everything lines up like it's supposed to. Yeah, exactly. So why am I drying between each layer? Because when I want it defined, and then that way when I do my pull, I'm going to get the entire thing. If you put layer on top of layer on top of layer, it will just blend all the colors together, and we want to keep these colors nice and as defined as possible. So that's why we're drying in between each layer. All right, so our next layer here, we're going to do just a straight up medium magenta. And maybe just a little bit of white to make it just a little lighter. So this is an instance where we didn't go from lightest to darkest. We actually did a dark layer in between, and that works out okay because, again, with the magenta and then adding in the titanium white, you end up with more of a, well, actually, I should say, because the purple is a fully opaque, that means that it's opaque, that it's not going to be see-through. That means that the colors underneath it really aren't going to blend in. And that allows us to put a lighter color behind a darker color without any issue. All right, so I want a little bit more. I'm seeing a little bit too much through here, and I want to make sure that this pink is nice and solid. And I don't mind that maybe my pink and white isn't going to blend completely together, right? So you might get a little bit of a little white showing through, a little bit of the pink showing through that's a little darker. That's okay. That makes it look more like natural flowers, right? All right, so let's pull this up. There we go. So we did get, again, some of that purple came up, but that's fine. There's plenty on there. All right. So yeah, when Gel Press was here last week, they said that you can wash your brayer and your stencils and things like that with Murphy oil soap. And I did have a spray version of it, and it worked really great. So I need to get some just regular Murphys instead of always having to rely on the spray, but it worked really well for me. And someone asked about the hand sanitizer drying out the gel plate. No, it doesn't really. And actually, best practice that I've found is to use the hand sanitizer to get everything off of it and get your plate nice and clean, and then just give it a nice wash with just some washing up soap and water, and then dry it, and it's good to go. Now you can always condition your plate with a little bit of mineral oil, baby oil, or I know Ranger does carry a specific oil for it, but it really is just a mineral oil or a baby oil. You can also use that to clean your plate off as well. All right. So here we go. We're going to dry one more layer. So basically, this is it for the pull. And we're at 4:40 local time. So that's not too bad. I mean, I've been talking and everything. So it's just it's a lot about the dry time in between. So we just want to make sure that we're giving each layer plenty of time to dry, so that it really sticks together and we can get a good pull. Right, so, and we won't know until we pull this whole thing up if it's going to all pull. So this last layer that we're about to do is going to be the proving ground, and then we're going to do our pull. All right, so we're going to grab, there's going to be some real good interest because we've got all these little bits on the side here. We've got our sprays that have now dried on here. Our magenta is almost dry. And this at this point is really adhering it nicely to the to each layer underneath it. So really adhering, making them all one nice cohesive layer. Anne says we need a drying song. You come up with the words, I'll come up with the melody. Dry, dry, dry. We dry our gel plate. It'd be like Buddy the Elf. I love you. I love you. I love gel plate. Yeah, no. And I just did that for the whole world to see. So Will Farrell, if you're out there, please do write us a song for drying while we're working with our gel plate. All right, this is dry. I'm going to do something kind of funky. We're going to do titanium white for our background. So basically what this is going to do, since we're pulling it on white paper, is it's going to give us a white background, or at least a mostly white background. Whatever grunge we have on here, of course, is going to get picked up. So I'm going to do, I do have a new titanium white. I'm going to do plenty of this all over. There, little glops everywhere. And then I'm going to put in some phthalocyanine blue and Mars black. Now I'm doing this because I kind of wanted a darkish blue, but I'm out of darker blue colors. So I'm just doing like a little bit. You see those little, and those are just going to kind of blend in different places. I'm going to put black right behind those so that they blend together. Just little bits, tiny bits. All right. Yeah, so Paula says she loves this process. It helps her to understand how a gel press works. Yeah, so this is one way that you can do a multi-layer pull, is by building it all on your plate and then pull it all off at once. All right, so the blending that I'm doing with these colors right now is really just the white, the blue, and the black. It's not messing up any of the layers underneath it because they are dry. At some point, this paint that I've just put down is going to adhere to the press, and it's going to adhere to the paint layers underneath. And then it's going to kind of soften them up a little bit. And that's when we want to do our pull. So this last layer is still wet. We need to get our piece of paper down on this so that way it can start adhering to this last wet layer. All right, so this is the fun part. We're gonna rub all the way down to all the edges. The paper that I'm using is a 100% cotton resume paper by Strathmore. I really, 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 really love it because it doesn't absorb the water too much from the paint, so that like it would fall apart or whatever. It holds really well together. It pulls the paint up really well. It's a nice weight as far as the paper itself. So it's not like working with cardstock where you may have a problem pulling it up. All right, that should be good. So I pull up a little corner here and I see how much is pulling up. It's doing pretty good. I think I need to rub just a little bit more. This could be a disaster, guys. You never know. But guess what? If it's a disaster, we go with it. Yep, see, it's not pulling up my flowers for some reason. Why aren't you pulling my flowers? It's trying. So if you're noticing that things are not pulling up, put your paper back down and rub vigorously over those sections again and hope that it starts to grab the paint. There we go. This is better. Still not 100%, but I'll take it. There we go. I got the rest of it. Oh, look at that. All right, so I didn't grab this. I can come back and kind of rub over that little section and see if it'll grab it. Are you gonna grab it? Nope, it says no. That's all right. All right, so we missed out on just the teeniest, tiniest bit. But look at what we did get. Something absolutely stunning and amazing that we just built on this gel press. Is that not so cool? So you can see like here where we sprayed the aqua or the turquoise spray before we put down the purple on top of it, how you get such a different contrast because the turquoise was dry and then the purple went over it and it sealed it into place. I mean, it's just really quite amazing. So Jan asked if it's humid here today, and it is, but I'm in a basement and I have my dehumidifier running, so that's not an issue. I think I just didn't maybe have a thick enough layer, and then I didn't let it sit long enough to pull up, to seep down into all of the layers, but I'm not upset. I think this is a beautiful result. And it gives it that whole kind of distressed look, right? I mean, that is what gel press is. It's never perfect. It always has a little bit of this or a little bit of that. And if I wanted to, I really could try, putting this back down here, you know, and kind of see, look at it, just grabbed it up. Huh, I put it in the wrong place, but that's okay. You know, you can try doing those kinds of things, but overall, I would say take it as it comes. And this is basically dry. We can continue working with it now and not have any issues. All right. So, you know, if you want to dry it, but it's dry already. No need to do any of that. All right. These fun little crusty bits on the side here. I can take my piece and try pulling up some of that. Let me get some of those really awesome layers. This is already starting to dry though, so really I would have to come back and put another layer of paint over this to grab it. But I will leave these for next time, or for my next project. And we will move our plate out of the way. So give me a second here while I reset. And we enjoy, look at that, it's so beautiful. Now you can go back and watch the replay of the live stream and catch any bits that you might have missed along the way. All right, we got our card base. I've got messy hands. That's okay. There we go. Okay, so all of our paints we are done with. We are done with our spray. We're done with our little fan, unless we're, you know, feeling a little. You know, at some point, this comes in handy for lots of women. All right. So let's look at what else we have to do. See, look at it. It's almost, this one has a little bit more, it ended up with a little bit more tan tones to it. This one's got a little bit more of a grayish tone to it. It's always going to be different looking, right? Every time you do it. That's why it's called a monoprint. All right. So we did all of that. Now we get to pick out the parts that we want to die cut. I'm using, this is from Happy Doodle. This is new for them. They have it both in imperial and metric. It's a wonky rectangles. Let me get the words right. Do you have it? Whimsically wonky. And then these are the imperial rectangles dies. Of course, there are metric rectangles dies as well. Happy Doodle is really great about that when it counts and you want to have a metric version. They do carry a lot of their dies both in a metric and imperial version. So when you're out buying them, make sure that you're getting the brand or the size that you're expecting. So if you're in the US, you want imperial. All right, you don't want metric. All right, so I can use this largest one to go ahead and cut out whatever part of this it is that I want. And the great thing about this is I'm going to have all this awesomeness for another project. I can cut that up into different pieces and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of need to decide like which way is up, which way is down, how much I want to have. Like, do I want to have more space on one side so I can put my sentiment in place? That kind of thing. And sometimes it takes just a little bit of planning. So I think that's pretty good. All right, so when it goes through your die cut machine, it also helps flatten it out, especially if you're using a thin piece like this. So this is nice and flat now. It looks great. Look at that. Oh, so good. And so I've got like just these little stitchies. And I'm going to save this piece for another project some other time, because this is all really good stuff for any kind of project. So there's that. And there's that. Got my little teeny tiny stamps. And my card base. So I'm doing a top fold card base today. I really do like a top fold on a portrait card instead of folding on the side. Just gives it a real nice look. All right, so this guy's going to fit right on there perfectly. All right. And yes, you're right, Stampin' Teacher. Happy Doodle is a UK company. So it's super nice that they provide both imperial and metric. All right, so just pop this guy right on your card base with that nice thin resume paper from the pull. It's so easy to work with. Super pretty, right? It doesn't even really need a sentiment. I mean, it could just be this, right? But if you want to put a sentiment on it, I recommend doing something little so that way you're not taking away from your entire design here. It could be a birthday card. It could be just about anything. Grab my, here we go. I had a little piece of, oh, here it is. So I didn't want to use white. On my sample here, white would have been too stark because it had a lot of those tan undertones. So I opted for the spicy yogurt from Altenew. See, it's kind of an off-white. You're gonna focus for us. There we go. You see it's got all that really great speckle in it, and it's wonderful. So that's their spicy yogurt. It's really nice. It's not too yellow or anything. I mean, it's just really barely off-white. But with this one, I think I could almost go with white. So let me grab a piece of white instead. Hey, look. I have like a strip right here, and I don't even need to use my dies. Let's see, what sentiment should we use? Sometimes I use an extra little magnet if I'm doing something like this to keep both sides down, and that's helpful. So we could do, let's just do like, let's celebrate you, because that's super cute. Super, super cute. All right, and I always have to get my head right over this, guys. There we go. And I'm not going to use black. I still have my VersaFine, a pile of VersaFine Clairs sitting out, because you know I love it. And I'm looking for, oh, here it is, Monarch. So this purple really matches well with the both the eggplant and the Liquitex. These all work pretty well together. So we're going to do this in Monarch. And as you know, I like to use VersaFine Clear in any color for sentiments because you only have to stamp once. It always turns out amazing. I mean, it's gorgeous. That's perfect. All right, so we're just going to pop this. So on the other one, I kind of put it up here, but this is a little bit of a longer sentiment. So I'm going to pop it over here. We're not going to do a flag, and we're just going to do a little squared off end and kind of pop it right there. Isn't that adorable? It's so cute. Let's see. So Kathy says, I like the resume paper. Didn't have much luck with regular copy paper. It wanted to tear and leave bits. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about paper for a minute. So the resume paper is produced differently. Copy paper is a whole bunch of little teeny tiny short paper fibers that are going to want to break apart when they get wet. When you're talking resume paper, you can kind of feel it. It's a little fluffier. It's a little bit more substantial. It's got a different feel to it altogether. It is longer fibers of better cotton, especially if it's 100% cotton. So then it's really a quality product that is not going to fall apart when it gets a little bit wet. All right, so it's all about the quality of the paper that you use for the results that you want to get, right? Here we go. Ta-da! It's okay that it went over the flower. That's totally perfect. All right, so if we want to go a little bit more with this, because we have just a few minutes, and we're really wrapping up on time here. Come on, there we go. Let's zoom in. You have a choice. You can leave your little stitches just the way they are, right? Or you can come back in with something like this white gel pen. This is actually a paint pen, the white linen paint pen by Dilutions. All right. Gotta shake it up. All right, and it's got a little nib there. There we go. See, little nib, good to go. And I'm just going to go over the little stitches to help them stand out a little bit more. It's just a little bit of paint. So you see how that helps it stand out just a little bit? So what might happen here is this might fade into the acrylic paint in the background. You might have to go over this once or twice. So go all the way around with it. And then if you want it to be a little bit more, go around it again. All right, so you can do that. You can do it in select places, anything like that. All right, so it doesn't matter that we already have our sentiment here. We're just going to work around it. And we can go around in these little spaces, following our stitching to just make them stand out a little bit more. All right, so you see how that helps it to stand out more than on this side. So if I went around probably about twice, it would look like this one. See how the stitching sticks out a little bit more. So it's really just a guide for you to add in the stitching, and it works out really nice. Gives it just a little bit of extra without having to actually do any extra real live stitching. But it works out really nice. And of course, as you can see here now, the colors that you get just kind of depend on the colors that you use, what you have on your gel press already, and things like that. This one, like I said, I had been using this for another project, so it had a little bit of stuff already on it. This one came from a relatively clean press, so we've got a little bit of a cleaner background. But either way, we got an amazing pull on our layered flowers. Looks just absolutely stunning. And even if they don't come out perfect, it is still perfect in itself because it's going to look that way and it's going to look amazing. So I hope this encourages you guys to try doing something fun with your stencils. Find some layering stencils that you have that you can try this technique with. Again, you don't have to go as crazy as I did here with the floral. I mean, it does look amazing, and it will definitely stretch your skill. You can explore different color combinations, try out different things. Just be really, I mean, it's just paper, right? It's just paper, it's just paint. If you're looking for somewhere good to start with something more simple, like just a triple layer geometric stencil, and get a really great result like this. And then feel confident to move into something bigger and better like this one. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed our time together. I know I did. I was biting my nails for a minute, hoping that this one was going to pull up, but it did. And I'm really glad. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I hope I've inspired you today. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up on the way out if you enjoyed today's project. I'll be back here next week. We're going to be talking high contrast with stencils. And I think you're really going to enjoy that a lot. There's a lot of really cool things that you can do with that. We're going to be using a different medium. We're not going to be using the resume paper, so you'll definitely want to stay tuned for that. And I will see you guys next week. So until then, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you get some crafting time in, and I will see you next week. Stay crafty, guys. Bye.